So before we get into it today, I do want to preface this video by saying, yes, there is an ongoing war between Ukraine and Russian forces. I am in no way making light of that situation, but I am going to be talking about how that war will be impacting the rest of the industry. And one way that you may be affected is that PlayStation 5s, Xboxes, basically anything that uses refined metals or certain gases, they're created largely in Ukraine and Russia, meaning those resources are going to be harder to get, which means that it is going to impact the tech industry. And we're already starting to see reverberations of that. So let's get into this story right now. Thank you so much for watching. We'll get into it. Thank you so much, everybody. If you like my videos, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell to know when my videos go live. I greatly appreciate your support here. So right away, first of all, I first was brought this video, this topic was first brought to my attention by Linus Tech Tips, a YouTuber who I like. He did a real quick breakout about it, and it's mostly going to talk about manufacturing, right? So PlayStation has been targeting 2023, 2024 for relief in terms of production of semiconductors. Semiconductors are in Xbox, PlayStation. Both companies have been trying to make more of these consoles. And what we had thought was that was going to mean more PlayStation 5s in the near future. But I want to bring up some reasons why that might not happen and why the supply strain could actually get worse in the coming days as opposed to better. So basically, the Ukraine-Russia war could have a devastating effect on your ability to get tech in the United States or basically anywhere else. Xbox, PS5, processors, graphic cards, they're all going to be impacted by this. And here's why. Basically, for US, Ukraine creates 90% of the neon the US uses in semiconductor production. So Linus Tech Tips lays it out as follows. Neon is a noble gas used in lasers that etch silicon wafers. No neon, no lasers, no etch. In 2014, during the Crimea invasions, prices of this resource went up 600%. Now, in addition to all that, and this is just from my notes before we actually looked at the wired breakdown, Russia supplies 30% of the world's palladium. Ukraine and Russia are also a main manufacturer of nickel, copper, platinum, and iron. Chip makers currently hold only a 2 to 4 week supply of the overwhelming demand per wired for semiconductor parts and manufacture of these things. So that means they could very quickly burn through these. Ukraine is home to half of the world's neon gas, which is critical for manufacturing semiconductor chips, as I outlined. And among Putin's first targets was Odessa, a seaside city huddled around the Black Sea and one of the country's busiest ports. But it is also home to a little-known company called Cryoin, which plays a big role in the global production of semiconductors. So now let's start reading the Wired article, which has even more details about how this could impact everything. So basically, Cryoin makes a neon gas. It's a substance used to power the lasers that etch patterns in the computer chips. It supplies companies in Europe, Japan, Korea, China, and Taiwan, but most of its neon is shipped here into the United States, the company told Wired. Now analysts are warning that the ripple effects caused by disruption to Cryoin supply could be felt around the world. Cryoin's production of neon and other gases has ground to a halt, as for obvious reasons, right? So semiconductors act as the technological brains in our phones, laptops, smartphones. We all know this, and even cars. The industry is already wrestling with shortages as it struggles to keep up with pandemic demand for devices. In 2021, chip shortages restricted production for almost every major car maker, with companies like General Motors shutting entire factories as a result. Apple, one of the world's largest chip buyers, told manufacturers in October that it would make 10 million fewer iPhones in 2021 than planned due to chip shortages, according to Bloomberg. So a repeat of 2014, when prices for neon spiked by 600% in response to the annexation of Crimea. Ukraine's neon industry was built to take advantage of the gases produced as byproducts of Russian steel manufacturing. So basically, Russia's making all these refined metals, and Ukraine was using the byproduct of that to create this gas, which helps create the semiconductor. So these two places are so intertwined, or they were, in the production of the things that we end up using in a lot of our equipment. What happens in Russia is that those steel companies, they have the facility to capture the gas, will bottle it, and sell it as crude, says Lita Sonroy, president and CEO of TechSet. Then someone has to purify it and take it out of other gases, and that's where crying comes in. When Russia annexed Crimea in 2014, the world's chip makers were even more dependent on Ukraine because the company supplied around 70% of neon gas. That later changed because other competitors came into the market. Competition's good, right? Cryan has enough supplies to keep production going until the end of March. If that runs out, she claims there are Ukrainian crude producers that Cryan can turn to as alternatives, but with everything going on, who knows if that's still going to be happening. Instead, she is more worried about getting neon out of the country. Borders right now are very overcrowded as people are trying to evacuate. She says if the authorities of countries where our clients are located are able to influence the border situation for all the commercial shipments, then that would be a great help, and it will not affect the whole industry worldwide. Now, obviously, the safety of human life is of the utmost importance. So again, I'm not making light of that. I'm just telling you what is going on and how it will impact the manufacturing of the devices that a lot of people are looking to get. Continuing on, chip makers have played down how much they will be affected by the crisis in Ukraine. There's no need to worry, Lee Sok-hee, CEO of South Korean chipmaker SK Hynix, said last week, adding the company had secured a lot of materials. Koichi Guida, the Minister of Economy, Trade, and Industry in Japan, said Japanese chipmakers are not expecting a major impact on their operations because they can source materials elsewhere. The company imports 5% of gases used in semiconductor production from Ukraine. So that seems like a little bit more of a positive thing, but the article does continue. There are concerns that the U.S. is even more vulnerable, however. Last week, the White House urged U.S. chip makers to find alternative suppliers, Reuters reported. We see huge amounts of imports coming into the U.S. from Russia and Ukraine, says TechSet's Sonroy. It is my educated assessment that what's coming into the U.S. from Russia and Ukraine could be as much as 80 to 90% of all neon imports. U.S. chipmaker Intel did not respond to requests for comment. But sourcing neon from elsewhere will not be easy. Any disruption in Ukraine will hit chipmakers at a time when the industry is already under intense pressure from post-pandemic demand. The drive behind increased production is so strong that it is causing strain in the supply chain everywhere, even without a war, Sonroy adds. So there is no excess supply of this kind of gas that I know of, none in the Western world. Now, I have a few other sources that did discuss this a little bit. The potential for retaliation has garnered more attention in recent days after TechSet, a market research group, published a report on February 1st highlighting the reliance of many semiconductor manufacturers on Russian and Ukraine source materials like neon, palladium, and others. You got to remember the refined metals. And then over here, Russian suppliers at Mint. Russian supplies the global semiconductor industry with rare metals, and Ukraine supplies specialty gases required by the chip making industry. So the production is cyclical, right? Cyclical, I think that's the right word. A lingering conflict between Russia and Ukraine can quickly exhaust thin semiconductor inventories, disrupting production worldwide and affecting the fragile global economic recovery. Neon and helium are both gases critical to the production of chips, and Russia and Ukraine are both major players in the global supply chain. So much that neon prices went up more than 10 times following the Russian annexation of Crimea in 2014, the report said. The report further highlighted that palladium, another key component of the chip-making process, may be affected, excuse me, my throat's like weird, given that Russia controls a quarter of the world's palladium stock. So 25%, 25% of the world's palladium stock is in Russia, and we're not going to be playing nice with them anytime soon. But if the, sorry, I don't know what's going on. But if the Russia-Ukraine conflict drags on, chip makers in Taiwan, South Korea, Japan, China, and other countries will feel the impact. This will likely result in higher chip prices and longer lead times moving forward. And I believe that was the final one. And then real quick, nickel, copper, other key non-ferrous metals jump amid Russia's invasion of Ukraine. That was on February 24th. Prices for non-ferrous metals rose around 5% in early London trading. And of course, Russia is a major producer of metals, including aluminum and nickel, and is also a substantial copper producer. So, video's a bit longer, but the reason it's that long is because I wanted to go over all these sources with you and just tell you that although we've expected 2024 to be the year when likely these shortages would subside, with everything going on in the world, I would manage your expectations and realize that PlayStation 5s, Xboxes, iPhones, any piece of hardware that you've been desiring could be even more scarce. And in the grand scope of things, it's not that important, but I just kind of wanted to show you what is going on and why that is going to likely happen in the near future. No retort. It's just what is going on in the world. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. So that's what's going on. If you like these videos, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell to know when they go live. Thank you so much for watching this far. If you would like to become a member, you can support this channel by doing so. Thank you so much to all of the members who've said, hey, Destin, I want to support your channel. Thank you so much for all you do. If you want to do that, you can click that join button down there. I am still trying to figure out which charity we want to do. That does take a little bit of time for me to set up, but we will be supporting this cause because in my previous video, I had asked what you thought about it and everybody seemed to think that it seemed like a good idea. So let's figure out something that we can do to make some a little bit more positive, and I'll update you on that soon. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I'm going to get out of here and I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now.